If you're watching this, I'm betting that you have or are currently dealing with frustration in learning how to program. And I have been there a lot. So in this video, I'm going to show you not only what to do about frustration, but also how to view frustration as a whole. The first thing we need to do is set good expectations. We need to accept the fact that frustration is a natural part of learning. Every developer who has ever programmed has and is probably frustrated on a daily basis. This isn't a bug, this is a feature. This is a part of the process. It's to be expected, and it doesn't mean that something is going wrong. In fact, it actually means something good. This means that you're on the edge of your skills and your knowledge, and you're actually at a point where if you view it the right way, you can learn and grow. How you deal with this and how you frame this frustration is absolutely vital to your success as a developer. How you deal with frustration is what will set the trajectory of your growth. And it really is a mindset and a habit that you have to practice every single day. Your daily thoughts, habits, and how you internalize what happens to you determines your level of success. There are times where you'll be confused. There are times where you'll feel overwhelmed. There are times where you doubt if you can even do it. And I felt these things often, especially as a new developer. But how you internalize these thoughts is what matters. Remember that this is not unique to you. Every developer who has ever programmed has felt this and has pushed through it. When you run into something that is confusing or frustrating, the critical action is to reposition your thoughts. This frustration can actually be a learning and a growth opportunity in disguise if you will let it be. Instead of internalizing, "I got stuck 10 times today," try and reposition that afterwards and in the moment as "I had 10 opportunities to grow today." Now, it's natural to want to remove our obstacles, but these obstacles are actually what causes us to grow. It's easy to stay in a bubble of what we know. Maybe we learned some HTML, some CSS, we know how to write for loops, or we know how to build CRUD apps. It's easy to stay in that bubble, in this nice place where it's fun, maybe it's easy, there's no problems here, we know how to do these things. And the problem is, that is where the limit of our growth is set. If we don't push outside of this bubble, we're just practicing the same skills that we already know. And that's good, we do need that practice, but we also have to keep pushing and growing our experiences and growing our knowledge. It's difficult and it's uncomfortable, but it is the only way to keep progressing. Now, I want to talk for 1 second about a very specific type of problem and frustration that comes up often, and that is this feeling of being stuck. This is a really terrible feeling, and it usually happens after you've worked at something for a long period of time. Maybe it's hours, maybe it's days, and you still haven't found the right answer. Now, how you act in this moment and in the ones leading up to it is really pivotal. I know this feeling, I felt this feeling a lot, but I also know that every time I've been completely stuck, I somehow get unstuck. I will eventually find the answer. I will go to sleep and wake up and I just magically have figured it out. I will get help from a friend, someone who can help guide me through this. But every single time, I've made it through this problem. And so there's really 2 points here. The first one is very easy to say and it's very hard to do. And that is, try not to be in anguish throughout this process. This is, again, easier said than done, but it's easy to let your thoughts spiral out of control in these moments. It starts with, "I don't understand this," "I'm confused," "I'm frustrated," but it can become something more, and it can spiral into, "I'm a fraud," "I'm too dumb," "I'll never figure this out," "I should have done this, this, and this." And these things are not only destructive thoughts, but they're not helpful in the moment. And when you get on the other side of that obstacle, which you will do, all of that is just more pain you've inflicted on yourself for no benefit. So try not to let your thoughts spiral out of control, but stay in the moment, stay in a problem-solving mode, and don't use any extra energy to beat yourself up. It doesn't help you fix the problem. It's not good for you overall, so don't do it. Then when you finally do get unstuck, remember to unload and decompress all of that mental baggage if you can. This is difficult to do, but you're soon going to run into another problem. It could even be 5 minutes later after you fix the original problem. And it's easy to take all of that past frustration and anger and all these things and just stack that new problem on top of it. And what you really need to do is take all that previous pain, throw it away, and start again at the bottom. This is really hard to do, but start with fresh eyes if you can, and take that problem for what it is. It's probably not going to be as bad as the thing you just solved. It's probably not as big. There's probably an easy solution. So don't start at a pain level of 10 with this new problem when it's really just a 1. If you need to, take a deep breath, go for a walk, come back to it later after you've had some time to process and decompress from your earlier frustration. I'm going to describe to you what I think is an almost ideal day as a new developer. And it's not the definition that you would have chosen for yourself, and you may not like hearing it even after I tell you. But an ideal day would be a day where you are constantly running into new problems almost nonstop. Now, this would be difficult, and it would take a lot of mental stamina and practice to do this, but this type of day means that you are growing and learning as fast as possible. This is actually a good thing. I fully understand what you'd want to happen and what I wanted to happen as a new developer. I wanted a nice day of programming where I'm completing my tasks, I'm building, it's fun, I'm not running into issues, I'm not running into problems, just a nice day of programming. And while this is okay, this again means that you are practicing and honing the skills you already have and you're not growing them. And it's also very easy as a new employee of a new job to think that you need to do your work and complete your tasks because that's why they've hired you. And while that is partially true, your highest value as a new team member to your team or your company is to grow to the point where you can lead and take on large and new initiatives. Yes, the bugs or the small tasks they're having you do are good, but they didn't hire you just to stay building small things or fixing small things. They hired you so that someday in the future, you can lead and do these big initiatives. And the only way you're going to get there is by growing. In the end, your growth is up to you. Two people can have the two exact same days and take away two completely different set of experiences from it. Do you run towards a challenge or do you try to escape? Do you view problems as something you can learn from and gain from, or do you look for them to be taken off of you and to be released from them? That's our natural response to avoid pain, to get out from under pain. But we have to know here that we are not only choosing this pain, but that it actually has a very good benefit on the other side of it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask for help. Asking for help is often the right thing to do. But if you can work through the problem yourself, you will gain all the learning and understanding from it. That being said, there are times where you will need help. There are things that are either outside of your current understanding or things that would take way too long for you to understand by yourself, and so it's worth asking for help and getting a little bit of guidance. I've said a lot about this in my talk, How to Become a Developer, which I'll link to below. So go check out that section on how to ask for help, how to think about getting help, and how to deal with problems after you get help. There's also some good debugging tips that will make your problem solving easier and faster, so check that out as well. There's one last thing I want to talk about specifically, and that is making mistakes and breaking things on production. I've written about this extensively in a blog post on Free Code Camp, which I'll link to below, but production mistakes can be a stressful experience, and they can be made worse if you don't have a healthy working team environment. In the heat of these moments, or at least after they've passed and they've been fixed, remember that these are invaluable learning experiences. As a successful developer, you'll be shipping code for many years to come in production. Some of these problems and some of these lessons can only be learned in production on real apps. So, while they're happening if you can, after they happen, cast off any type of blame or shame that you put on yourself or other people put on you, and do your best to learn what you can from those experiences. Ask yourself, how did my code fail? How did my processes fail? How did my infrastructure, like my servers, fail? These are 3 areas where you can learn and grow and adapt to prevent those problems from happening in the future. And finally, give yourself the freedom to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen if you are pushing yourself into new areas where you don't have understanding and you don't have experience. It's going to happen. But it's okay as long as you learn from those mistakes and don't repeat them moving forward. At the end of the day, shrug it off and come back the next day ready to go. Let the past stay in the past and dump all of that baggage and come back ready the next day. It won't feel like much is happening day to day, and it will feel like you're getting frustrated a lot, but over time you'll notice that you've learned, you're growing, and that those frustrations will happen less, or if they happen, they will not last for quite as long, and you'll figure out the solution much sooner. Okay, those are all my tips on how to deal with frustration. Remember to take a deep breath, go for a walk if you need to. As you push through these, you'll find that you're growing and you're learning, and you're well along the way to being a successful developer.